Okay, so good morning, everybody. Glad to see you all bright and early on a Monday morning. Thanks for joining us again this morning. Excuse me. So I want to just quickly cover several things, and then we'll get into our presentation today. So as always, I like to thank our sponsors, Care First Health Plan, Valley of the Sun United Way, Satellite Broadcasting Communications Association, Khajiit, and Triad Wireless. And we are getting low on funds, so I do need some sponsors. I'm going to be contacting many of you to help with some sponsorships. So just giving you fair warning that we do need to raise some money. Again, just a reminder, if you haven't done so, that our participant database, please fill out the Google form so that we have your contact information. We know who you are, who you represent, and so forth. So it would make it easy for people to contact you. So please take a couple of minutes to do that.
You too.
Next thing is just a reminder of kibitzing with colleagues. I guess most of you by now probably know that after our formal meeting is over, that some people hang online and we kibitz, we share information, ask questions, and so forth. It's a very informal, no presentations or anything else. So if you choose, you're welcome to join us. It may last 5 minutes, it may last an hour, depending on what people have on their mind. So I encourage you to do that. Next thing is by now you probably know that I've been using Otter transcription services for our meetings. And it's much better than the transcription we get with Zoom. Not perfect, but it's a whole lot better than what we were getting before. So I am sharing that with you also. We're talking about sharing. Just a reminder that I do try to capture any of the information that's in the chat. So if you have any announcements, information, events coming up, or whatever that you would like for me to send out along with the updates about the meeting, please include in the chat any files, links, descriptions, and so forth. It makes it much easier for me to be able to track all that information. So please do that. Next thing is on September 13th, the 13th annual Arizona Technology Summit will be held at the Phoenix Convention Center. Some of you may know, and I think Tracy, you've been involved with us over the years, that we have had a booth. When I say we, it was the Greater Arizona Educational Leadership had a booth there on a regular basis, and I have been in touch with them. They have contacted me about whether we have some interest in participating with them. And the tentative conversations we've been having is that I explained to them that if we were to be able to participate, that we may want to have some kind of a workshop, presentation, and so forth. Just to be clear, that their target population is generally IT professionals. So they don't like to have anybody and everybody come and participate. But I have been in touch with them about the possibility of doing some kind of a gathering, either about digital inclusion and in particular, cybersecurity, which is an area that they have a particular interest in. So I'm in conversation with them about how we might best collaborate and whether it would be worth our while. I'm sure that they will give us an exhibit table as they have done in the past on a complimentary basis. Also, while theoretically the attendance is $145, that they do have complimentary registrations available. And if we partner with them, we will have a complimentary registration through AZBSN. So if any of you are interested in talking with me about that, I would certainly be glad to hear from you. And any of you who are providers who would like to be interested, who would be interested in participating and perhaps, excuse me, sponsoring one of our workshop for us, that would be great. So again, please contact me. I will be sending out the link with the information about that summit. And again, if any of you are interested, please let me know. So the other thing is that I've been thinking about, so what's next for us? And one of the things that occurred to me as I get announcements about various resources is that when we started this task force, one of the things we talked about, and those of you who were early on with us, remember that we had a funding team. And part of the reason for that was, while certainly we're seeing tons of money rolling in for infrastructure, and of course now for digital inclusion, but there's still a lot of money out there with from various funding sources that we haven't really tapped. And now with digital inclusion becoming more important, and while we're going to see some federal funding, that we need to look at other sources of funds. And so I would like to reconvene the funding team and begin to look at what other sources of funds may be out there. So if you're interested in helping with that, again, please let me know. Moving on. Mark, you want to do a quick announcement about the Technology Council Public Policy Guide?
Sure. I unmuted. Okay. The Tech Council has put out a extensive state and federal tech policy guide annually for, I think, 11 or 12 years. It's really quite a big effort. Steve Zylstra dices it up into sections, and I lead people that do 3 sections of that: broadband, fintech, financial tech, and artificial intelligence primarily. And then the broadband section, unlike most of the other sections, is broken into 4 subsections throughout the guide: one about infrastructure, one about telehealth and telemedicine, another section about K through 12 education, and a 4th section about the universities. And so I will post in the chat the baseline broadband roll up, just the summary of the broadband part. I'm running a bit behind. I have about a week at most to generate and collect and edit changes to that, and would welcome. I think maybe a third of you just happen to be on my outreach list and have probably already seen that, but I will post the document here in a couple of minutes.
And I will also send that out with a link to when I send out the update about the follow-up to the meeting. So
there won't be a link on the web for the document I'm sharing. Last year's entire guide as a PDF is accessible, but
Mark, I just put it on the chat. This is Carla with the Arizona Technology Council here in Southern Arizona. I just put the link to the PDF for the entire public policy guide for 2022. So
great, thank you. And there you would find the broadband in its 4 sections in context, but the real editing is, easiest from the word extract of those 4 subsections. Thank you, Carla. And I will post that Word document from which, we do markups and otherwise collect comments and suggestions and integrate them.
So when I send out the follow-up to the meeting, I will have a link to those of you who ever check. I do have a link to a page that has the video, the recording of the meeting, the transcript, the chat, and all that sort of stuff, and any files such as what Mark is talking about, so that you can download it from that page. I try not to send attachments, but that's a way to be able to also get that, and you'll get that notification in the follow-up email that I'll be sending.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay. Let's see what else. So Holly, are you online today, or Mala? Okay.
I'm
So,
here.
Steve, I am.
okay, so Holly, are you still looking for a replacement for Nicole?
Absolutely, we are.
Okay, you want to just tell people quickly again what you're looking for?
I think the best thing to do is just, we can post the link to the job description in the chat.
Okay,
We're
okay.
looking
So,
for a new Nicole, but that's really going to be difficult to fill her shoes.
okay,
But Cindy's doing a great job of helping us to keep Connect Arizona and the Digital Navigators program going.
so actually, I was just about to mention that. So Cindy, do you want to say anything about that? So just to remind people exactly what that means, either Holly or Cindy.
Sure, I can do that. So Nicole kind of managed the efforts behind the scenes of Connect Arizona, the website, and they're, let's see, that group is obviously keeping up with the digital navigator work. They're doing a lot of work helping people sign up for the Affordable Connectivity Program. They're also helping, we have a subgroup under that and under AZBSN called the Arizona Digital Inclusion Network. We've been brainstorming about things to do during Digital Inclusion Week. And we started by creating a date and an event for a kickoff. And we took that to a certain level. And then the Digital Equity Institute is actually going to host that. So we've turned kind of the planning over to them, and Erin can talk about that in a minute. The group of navigators is also just starting to implement the North Star digital literacy modules for public use, and they're getting that up and running. Holly could probably maybe tell you a little more about that. I haven't exactly dived into that yet. We're also going to be, for Digital Inclusion Week this year is in October from the 3rd to the 8th. And we are going on the Connect Arizona website. We're going to track all the events. So if people in different localities or people that haven't been attending the Arizona Digital Inclusion Network meetings, if you've got events going on in your city or locality, you can be in touch with me. I'll put my number and email in the chat, and we'd like to get those on a calendar so that everybody knows what events are taking place. There are a bunch going on in Tucson. We're going to do a Boys and Girls Club event with, someone's going to do, AZ Strut is going to do a Chromebook techie camp on a Saturday with kids at the Boys and Girls Club, one of the clubhouses. I think they're going to organize a recycling event down here as well. And then the Pima County Broadband and Digital Inclusion outfit here in Tucson, it's now called Connect Pima. It's a lot easier to say. And we're going to have a digital literacy forum here, why digital literacy matters. And so I'll be sending save the dates out broadly, and I'll probably get one.
Great, thank you, Cindy. You're doing some great work, both statewide as well as here in Pima County. So really, thank you for all your work. And I'm really
Steve.
glad. Yes, go ahead, Holly.
Sorry, I wanted to just go ahead and add that basically that the digital inclusion library consultant that we're looking for will be providing resources and services to libraries that help overcome barriers to digital inclusion for Arizona's residents. And then I think one of the challenges here is that in addition to needing someone who has that expertise in digital equity, digital inclusion, is that we also want this person to be a librarian, to have the library degree, and to provide advice and consultative services to librarians and library workers on a broad range of library topics. So in other words, they would be part of our library development team. So that gives a little bit more depth to the job description and what we're looking for.
Well, and I think that's good, Holly, that people know that, because that of course excludes some people who might have been interested, but if they don't fit the library background, then they would not be, basically wouldn't be eligible for that position. So I think that was good that you provided that information.
Thank you for the opportunity, Steve.
You bet. So let's move on to our updates. Jeff's not here. I don't know. I haven't seen Jeff in a while, so I need to find out what's happening with him. And I don't think Sandip is online either this morning. So let's move on. Mala, do you want to do your update, please?
Yes.
Steve, I just want to say there was a couple of interesting posts on LinkedIn. I didn't see news articles about them. That Jeff was up in northern Arizona with Mylan. There was a big fiber connection completed to Grand Canyon area and another area. I'll see if I can find the LinkedIn posts that Jeff or others made for that, but there was some big celebratory news on 2 projects, I believe, last week. So Jeff has been traveling.
Okay. Yeah, I know he travels quite a bit these days. But thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. So Mala, you got an update for us, please?
Yes, yes, and just to add to what Mark is
Mala,
saying,
before you start, can you again
Yeah.
remind people who you are?
yeah, this is Mala Muralidharan. I'm the state E-rate coordinator for public libraries. Mylan is my counterpart for schools, and yes, Mylan and his team, actually, some of his team members as well are traveling in the northern Arizona. We have they were planning to visit the Navajo Nation as well to gauge what's going on with the Navajo Nation E-rate fiber build out. So there's lots happening, not just with Navajo Nation, but all around the state with libraries and schools, consortiums, culmination of 3 years of fiber build out. So they will get back and give us a report, I'm sure. As far as E-rate funding goes, we've received about a little over half of what we had applied for. $53 million have been committed to date, and there is still a lot more to go, of course, but they are going at a good pace. USAC is committing at a really good pace. As far as ECF is concerned, of the 7.1 billion to date, 5.5 billion funds have been committed already. There were 3 application windows, and this was the total for all the 3 that has been committed. Again, this is ongoing, and this is for schools and libraries, not only to receive connectivity. ECF provides connectivity at home for library patrons and for school students through them and through the schools and libraries. And this is an ongoing project, and we will keep getting notification of the funding. Again, just quickly to remind folks, I have spoken about this before, that the applications totaled about 8.5 billion, which surpassed the 7.1 billion that was earmarked for ECF. And since the demand exceeds the availability of funds, there will be a prioritization based on the National School Lunch Program. And those that are at the highest discount levels are likely to get more, likely to get funded, whereas those that are at the lower discount level may not get funded. Again, this will not be known until all of the funding has been committed. I don't know how many of you attended the FCC open meeting. Jessica Rosenrossel really spoke from her heart about the connectivity, the ACP especially, and promoting that. In fact, I don't know if you saw the MSNBC interview of Jessica Rosenworcel too. So she's been promoting ACP as much as she can. And she spoke about the funding for ACP. ACP is the Affordable Connectivity Outreach Program, outreach grant, and they are signing up households to get internet access at a discounted level of $30 per month. This will also provide them with a device if they don't have one already. So this is the program. And Jessica Rosenworcel really spoke about connecting not only through the libraries and schools, but also through the housing assistance program. She called that program Your Home, Your Internet. And they talked about how they are piloting this program through the housing societies and the housing assistance program. The other things that were discussed at the FCC open meeting was dealing with freeing up spectrum to support satellite broadband services in those areas where fiber connectivity was difficult to get to. I think that's all I have right now, unless anyone has any questions for me. Back to you, Steve.
This is Andy Sinclair, DES. One other concept that came out of that webinar was working with seniors. We talked quite a bit about working with kids, but it turned out with ACP, about 46% of the people that have signed up are actually senior citizens. So that was a fascinating number to hear.
Thank you. Thank you for adding that.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, moving on. Holly, you have anything else, or are you done?
No, just that Cindy's going to be joining me at a meeting of all of the county librarians on Wednesday, and we're going to be encouraging the local libraries to participate in Digital Inclusion Week activities. That's it.
Okay. All right, anything else? Cindy, do you have anything else that you want to add besides what you've already spoken about?
Nope, I think I covered it. Thank you. Might ask Erin.
Steve, if Erin Carr-Jordan is online, I did want to see if she had any comments about the Marconi Society and ASU creating a professional accreditation program for digital inclusion leadership, whether Digital Equity Institute's involved with that. And I believe the first cohort will be this fall.
Well, she is next on the agenda, so
right.
So there you have it. So Erin, you've already been introduced.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's being led by Karen Mossberger with Sam and team at Marconi. Lev's involved, ASU broadly, trying to pull from as broad stakeholder group doing digital equity work across the country. ASU is one university that's participating, but yes, DEI is part of it. ASU is lead with Marconi. It's digital equity professional or digital inclusion. I can't remember the exact name of it. I think, Mark, you actually put it in the chat, but it's fantastic. We're actually partnering with a few other entities as well on certifications and or credentials in the digital equity space. So we'll be announcing those soon. And we're really excited about them. One of them is a digital navigator credential, which will be fantastic and will hopefully combat some of the challenges that we're seeing related to fraud in that space and people not knowing who to trust. So hopefully we can lean into that and be useful and helpful to the community. I did want to echo what Cindy was expressing about the upcoming, I think we decided to call it Digital Inclusion Celebration Summit. That will take place on October 3rd. We're incredibly excited for that. Be on the lookout for the save the date. We hope to get that out in the next week or so. We're running it like a celebration of folks who are doing exemplar work in this space from across the state. So we have, well, I think there's several people who are actually on this call. Sharika from Future Stars, SciTech Institute, Learning.com, the Barbara Bush Foundation, folks from Gila River Digital Connect. There's about 15 different organizations working across the entire spectrum of digital inclusion work, from literacy to support to STEM to workforce, all of it. And we're really excited to have an opportunity to showcase them and get attention to folks who need attention, who are just doing great work. Also, I want to be quiet here and turn it over to Drew and to Elena for a minute to talk about the ACP collaboration that's launching this week, so they can share a little bit more. We're partnered with them. DEI is partnered with them, but I don't want to be the lead voice for that. I would really like them to. So Elena and Drew, if you want to share a few thoughts.
Sure. Drew, I saw that you're on and I know you have to jump. So do you want to go first?
You can handle it, Elena. I will I want to let everyone know, anyone who's working with ACP, like we are, that the recertification process began in August. And so ACP residents are gonna, if they don't automatically requalify, they're gonna get 60 days where they have to recertify themselves. So 60 days starting in August leads to October. So you just might start getting some questions about recertification, and that's what they're referring to. I put a link in the chat. And as Cindy points out, it is similar to the Lifeline recertification process. So back to Elena.
Thanks, Drew. Yeah, I went ahead and popped the press release that went out today.
Excuse me, Elena, can you just tell people who you are?
Oh yeah, sorry.
represent?
Yeah, I'm Elena Lowry. I work with Drew, but I'm here in Arizona with Common Sense Media. And we are working with the Digital Equity Institute and ASU's Experience Center for a pilot program that is launching today around awareness for the Affordable Connectivity Program. But the beauty of this launch is that we actually have digital navigators that are going to be helping people as part of this campaign. They are at the Experience Center at ASU. They are a wonderful team that has provided so much support to us for this program. What we're really doing is hopefully you will see starting this week. Oh, sorry, there's the dog. You will see starting this week billboards. You will see bus shelter advertising. You will see there will be some online television advertising, as well as some interviews and things like that we're doing, all to help promote digital inclusion through the ACP program. Drew, take it away so I can get my dog to stop barking.
All right. I put the links to you'll hopefully see this website on your TV or on the radio, or on digital billboards or on physical billboards. But I put links to the website in the chat so that you can see it. If you visit this website, English or Spanish, from Arizona, from an Arizona IP address, you should get a ASU's phone number, the Experience Center's phone number. So you can either go through the process yourself online, or you can call ASU and the Digital Equity Institute to get help from a live person to help you with enrollment. So again, this is going to be a 3 months advertising campaign, and ASU and DEI are with us the whole way. So we're super excited. It starts today. So keep an eye out.
So Aaron, can you tell people quickly about what the Experience Center is? Because I'm guessing that most people don't know what that is.
Sure, absolutely. So the Experience Center is ASU's tech support team that added a few folks to their already large 150-person tech support team, upskilled them around digital navigating, and then collaborated with Drew and Elena and the Common Sense Media team to become more fluent in ACP. So so the Experience Center basically can do anything around tech support. They've already been doing that for ASU's 150,000 students. Plus they have a contract with the state to do several statewide programs. So basically we just said, how do we take a group that already is doing this work really well, add more to their current skill set, and then leverage that for the benefit of digital inclusion work statewide. So that's what EC is. They're an incredible group of folks. They're very excited about this program. And for scalability reasons, it's really one of the few that can do everything and keep it within the, keep it as safe as it really needs to be for protecting people's information, being able to address the languages that are needed within Arizona, given all of the complexities that exist there, and to be able to do it in a 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, all of those things. And we're working with Common Sense. What is that? I think we have 5 different 800 numbers that are up so that we can better understand the channels that work well for each of the audiences in Arizona. So they're a fantastic group. I'm happy to talk with anybody if they want to know more.
So Aaron, I assume that there's a website. Can you put that link in there so that people can learn more about the Experience Center?
Sure, absolutely. The other thing that I was going to say for this group, and by the way, I didn't, my apologies, Steve, I didn't follow your directions. I'm Erin Carr-Jordan. I'm the managing director of the Digital Equity Institute. We are kicking off next week in full steam for both digital equity and beadwork under IJA. So for everyone on this call, I know I've sort of laid the foundation before, but I want to begin having deeper conversations. We're going to begin the design piece and data collection and working across the entirety of the state. So as we start to build that prioritization and the actual travel schedule that will undergird that, I would love to make sure that everyone who is here is included. I know I work with the overwhelming majority of you already, but this is an open invitation to be working together more deeply. And then also one last thing, I guess there's a couple of things. We have our dates finalized for the upcoming Digital Navigator programs, both in Tucson and in Flagstaff. Those will be held on September 9th and November 4th. The November 4th date also happens to fall on Election Day, so we might change that one. But just a heads up that those are scheduled. And then last but not least, this week we have a congressional summit that's taking place at ASU, but we have our elected officials from across the state that are participating. A significant part of that conversation is around digital equity and inclusion. I'm speaking there. Hopefully we'll be able to share that with everyone after, but it is a wonderful opportunity to bring together our elected folks to make sure that everyone is part of this conversation and that we're thinking about policy as we're building the actual programmatic elements. So that's it. I'll be quiet now.
That's all? Okay, well, thanks, Aaron. Any questions for Aaron before we move on? Okay. So I'm sorry, before we move on, is there anybody new joining us today? I should have done this at the beginning of the meeting. Is there anybody new joining us today that would like to introduce themselves real quickly? Okay, I thought I saw a few new people, but if not, we're going to move on. So Mala, do you have anything that you want to talk about with the Telehealth and Libraries project?
Actually, Janet Major and Ken visited the 2 sites, Ajo and Aravaca, for planning the October event, the October launch event that we're doing, just so we could see what the space looked like and how many tables we can fit, what all we can do at that inaugural event. So there's lots of work going on about who the partners are going to be, what the program is likely to be on that day, including the food bank that has their food distribution day on that day, and it's going to be a fun day. I'm really excited about the event and how it's shaping up. But we'll get you more updates at the next meeting. We had a little bit of a setback because Ken Zambo, who is the project manager at Pima County, was unavailable the last couple of weeks due to illness in the family. So, but we're moving along. So the project, I'm excited to say that it's going well.
Great. And I believe Janet is not online, if I'm not mistaken.
Is not today, yes.
Okay. Okay, so moving on. So Sophia, do you have anything? I know that Kelly's online. I don't believe Mylan is. Sophia, you still there?
I am. Kelly can go ahead and give an update if she has one. I don't have anything.
Okay, so Kelly, you're on. Please introduce yourself, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kelly. I'm from the Office of Digital Teaching and Learning with the Arizona Department of Education. And I actually think I don't have an update today.
Okay. Well, I just saw your newsletter. I thought there was a couple of things in that newsletter that I thought were interesting.
There are, yeah, we do have a small pilot that we're launching that just went live last week. That might be what you're talking about. It's the student data privacy pilot, and we have an application that's open, and this establishes an opportunity for schools across the state to apply to participate in this pilot, which offers them data privacy software through Trusted Apps, which is One Ed Tech, and the particular application is Trusted Apps. And I can put the link to the website with the details in the chat. So this one, it is pretty exciting. We've gotten great feedback from schools that this is really helpful. And so the deadline does close for that application on August 31st. And this just opened up last week. And this is something that Karina has been working on for a few months with schools. So Scottsdale Unified is actually the champion school that uses this software already. And now what we're doing is inviting schools to participate in this pilot where we can, number one, learn to see, is this useful? Is this helpful? What could this lead to on a larger scale for schools in the state? And again, it's opportunity to participate in and have an affiliate membership with the Trusted Apps software that comes through One Ed Tech. So I put that link in there, and I know I actually got to meet Joy Whiting in person last week, and she's typically on these calls. I haven't checked to see if she's here today. So I have had the opportunity to meet with county superintendents. I was able to participate in a portion of their retreat last week and share details on this. So I feel as though we're starting to get some awareness out. But if any of you have conversations with schools or superintendents, this is a great opportunity. And again, it goes back to student data privacy. This is something where it's challenging to keep up with all of the applications that are being used in the classroom. Teachers have a lot of requests, have a lot of interest in new applications or just applications they've used year over year. But the fine print with those application changes. And it's difficult for IT departments and K-12s just to keep up with the fine print and the terms and conditions of these applications that are being used. And this is a dashboard essentially and a community of practice where you can see if the app is vetted, if it's verified, if it meets the student data privacy rules and regulations. So great opportunity. And I will stop talking at this point unless there are any questions.
Well, it's a great project, Kelly, as we know that the schools and teachers are using all kinds of apps out there, and it becomes a real challenge, particularly for the IT people, to try to manage all that.
And
Definitely, yes.
Steve, while we're on K through 12, I did post that as Tia and Ann Williams group and the Center for Digital Education have a conference for K through 12 educational CIOs and CTOs on October 25th. So the link is in the chat for that.
Okay.
Thanks. Mark.
Okay, moving on. So I don't think Mylan is on, or Shelby, are you online? Okay, moving on. So Derek, I don't think he's here, or Gabe, I think you're online. I don't know if you have.
I am, Steve. Good morning. I am online, but I do not have an update. Thank you.
Okay. And Wes is not on, I don't believe. Rory, are you here today? Okay. Well, that's all the updates for today. So moving on, any other questions, announcements before we move on to our presentation this morning? Okay, if not, I want to introduce Blake Mayfield, who's Director of Business Development with WANRAC. Some of you may remember that when we first started AZBSN a couple of years ago, we actually held a summit, and WANRAC was a sponsor of that event. And haven't been in touch with them much recently, but they are a provider in the state and doing some good stuff. So we've reconnected with WANRAC and with Blake. And so Blake, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to stop sharing and let you share if you have anything to share.
Perfect. Can you hear me all right?
Can.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to present today, everyone. Like Steve said, I've met a lot of you on the call over the years. WANRAC's been doing business in Arizona for about 7 or 8 years now. So a lot of the folks that have spoken today, we've dealt with in the past in one project or another. But again, I'm Blake Mayfield, one of the directors of business development at WANRAC. I cover about 10 states for the company, with Arizona being one of them. Both on the school district, so the E-rate side with the schools and libraries, and also any federal or state grants for both counties and cities that we're exploring for both middle mile and last mile projects. So really what I wanted to touch on today is just who WANRAC is and what we're doing, just so folks on the call have a little bit more knowledge if you haven't heard of us in the past. So as this slide says, we've been a broadband provider for about 10 years now. Really our core focus for the last decade has been building middle mile networks, or WANs, for really municipalities and school districts. For school districts, we've built, I want to say, 12 or 13 private fiber networks for Arizona school districts over the years. We've also done some projects with some cities. We are in the process now of building out a couple middle mile networks for counties and other parts of the country. We're actually just finishing up a 90-mile middle mile network that was built from scratch in Wisconsin that connected 34 anchor institutions in a county to build them a middle mile network to lower the barrier to entry for a last mile provider to come in and offer last mile services. That project was really successful. Of the 73 counties in Wisconsin, Taylor County, that's our customer, was the second to worst in terms of being ranked for connectivity in the state. As soon as our project was nearing completion, a last mile provider came in and is now putting up towers along the middle mile network that we had constructed for the county. And now 95% of all residents in that county will receive high-speed internet via either fiber to the home or the towers that this last mile provider is putting up. So that was just an interesting project to show how building out a middle mile network for the more rural parts of the country really does lower the barrier to entry and of cost, I should say, for last mile providers, and that's been very successful. And as many folks have touched on the call today, there are so many state and federal grants that are either active at the moment or we're expecting to come down the pipeline the next year or so. So there's a lot of opportunity, whether it's rural or not, for any broadband needs to be solved through these grants. And the unique thing about WANRAC is we build all of our networks from scratch. So all of our customers have a lot of input early on of how they would like their network to be designed. And that's particularly important when you're working with a community, as we want that to be a true partnership, because they'll know better than us, obviously, where their most needy areas are, if they have any ideas on how a network should be designed to benefit the community long term. All of that information is important when we can build a network from scratch, because if a customer that we're working with knows that a business district is going to be built in 5 years in a certain area, or there's more neighborhoods coming on the south side of the county, all of that can be taken into consideration when we're designing that network from scratch. The bottom point, we are headquartered in Overland Park, Kansas, which is in a suburb of Kansas City. We are privately backed by CBRE Infrastructure, which is one of the largest infrastructure funds in the world. And that's particularly important on a lot of these grants. For example, the NTIA middle mile grant that's due at the end of September requires a 30% match. So when you're talking about a multi-million-dollar project potentially to build a city or a county a middle mile network, that 30% match component can be quite expensive. but being backed by CBRE, having their deep pockets allows us to help communities as we can be the one that is more than willing to put up that match for the sake of a project. I just touched on a lot of this on the last slide, but we are in 23 states today. But really, ironically, you'll see on the next slide, it was kind of organic growth. We didn't plan for this to happen, but the state that we have the most network in is Arizona. I think we have probably near 15 different private fiber networks we've built across the state. Here are a few of them. This is not all. A lot of these are school districts, and then also the Yuma Regional Medical Center. That first bullet point was a consortium build for both school districts in Yuma about 7 years ago. And then the rest that are listed are school districts, but there's been some work done with some cities as well. But as you can see, since these are all custom builds, these are all over the state. Some are in downtown Phoenix and some are very rural builds. So WANRAC is always willing to build anywhere. Really, it's just finding customers that have a need and are willing for us to put together a quick rough estimate for them, see if there's any interest there. And then if there is, we can begin conversations on how to best serve them. And then if it's more of a E-rate project for like a school district or a library, we just want to put our best foot forward when that 470 and RFP comes out in terms of pricing and just our value add. Just a few last things on our value prop. Really, one of the things that we pride ourselves in is our customer retention. Over the last decade, we have a 99% customer retention rate. I think a lot of that is due to the fact that since we are coming into a community and it's a greenfield build every time, we are working with our customers so hand in hand on the front end that we like to make sure the network is built and designed exactly how they would like, and then provide great customer service and response times, since we truly view all of our builds as a long-term partnership. And I think that's showcased in our customer retention rate. We really focus on anchor institutions, and we're talking middle mile networks, whether it's for obviously a school district would be a wide area network through E-rate, but whether it's a city or county, connecting anchor institutions, one is one of the things that a lot of grants ask for, but also if you can picture any community that you live in, all of your anchor institutions are strategically placed across the city or county. They're not all right next to each other. So by building a network that connects all of those to their own private middle mile network, you now have fiber to all the far reaching corners of a community. And then it's very easy for us to then start looking at last mile options, whether that's fiber to the home or a mix of some wireless and fiber to the home to best serve the community. Once the middle mile is in place, we feel very strongly that we have the ability to build those last mile networks out quickly. And part of that's due to our grant expertise. We have grant writers in-house. So if there's ever a customer that would be interested in WANRAC exploring a potential grant, whether it's last mile or middle mile, we would more than happy to take that grant writing process on for the community. We've worked with folks in different states where sometimes the community wants to be the one to apply for the grant directly, and we are happy to assist as needed in that situation. And we've also worked in other communities where they're willing to write letters of support or give us any support that they need, but they don't feel comfortable or have the resources to apply for the grant. So then WANRAC takes that responsibility on. And really the last point I want to touch on is whether it's a school district build, a city build, whatever it may be, we're really building future-proof infrastructure. These are all brand new builds with high fiber count. So rather than using fiber that could be 15, 20 years old, this will be a brand new build, and WANRAC will always overbuild the network on our own dime. So if we're working with the city or a county in some type of public-private partnership, depending on what is negotiated for the city or county's fiber, let's just use some generic numbers here. Maybe the city has access to their own private network that's 144 fibers. WANRAC will always pay on our own dime to put another 144, if not significantly more than that, into the ground. That way that there's a high fiber count that's available for future opportunities, because as everyone knows, it's cheaper to build it once than to come in and overbuild it twice, right? So we're of the belief that the broadband needs are only increasing every year. So there's no reason to not future-proof your networks in terms of the fiber count on the front end. So that's just one of our common business practices. So whether it's a build that we already have or a build that we would be working with the customer in the future. If you have any interest in where any of our networks are currently located, those are all high fiber count networks. So there'd be ability to leverage the backbone of those networks that WANRAC overbuilt for any potential projects in those areas as well. So it's a lot of information. I was trying to be brief, but really our main takeaway is that we were always willing to provide free quotes, whether it's school district, library, city, county, for any type of project that they're looking for. Our construction and operations team can typically get those rough estimates back very quickly. So we would love to explore any conversations that folks may have on potential grant opportunities or just potential projects that they are thinking of already in their community. So I know that my phone number and email address is on the agenda, so feel free to reach out if anyone on the call has any interest in exploring any new fiber builds in their communities. And Steve, I tried to keep it brief, so that's really the high level overview of who WANRAC is and what we're doing in the state. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. So
right before I forget, can you please send me your presentation here if that's okay? I'd like to share that with the group after the meeting.
Yes, I will send that right now.
Okay. So if you would, first of all, stop sharing now. And then are there any questions for Blake?
Yes, I have one.
Hey, Jerry.
Yeah, hi. Blake is, this is strange. Is Rob Euler still running that company?
He is. Rob is our CEO and founder. He founded the
I know
company
him
about
personally.
close to 10 years ago. And he's still running it.
Yeah, okay. I lived in Lawrence for about 2 years and I became quite close to his family, his ex-father and stepmother and their kids. Just let you know. Tell him Jerry Crow said hello. Okay.
I will tell him. I actually have a call with him right after this. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear it.
I haven't seen them for quite a while, of course, but anyway, thanks, Steve, for letting me put in that personal word.
You bet.
Good to hear you're doing business in Arizona. I didn't realize that he was located in Arizona.
Yeah, and that was part of the reason why we were excited when Steve asked if we want to give a presentation. Is typically, since all of our builds are custom built, really only our customer or only the exact community that we're building in is aware of what we're doing, because it's not it's not a large public network where you're slowly connecting more and more folks all across the state. These are all individual builds. So if we haven't built in your specific city, you might not be aware that we are doing business in Arizona. So I was excited for the opportunity to just let folks know of what our capabilities are and where we already are in the state.
And I think they're a great example of some of the great providers that we have in the state, many new people. And then, as Blake indicated, they've been around and been involved with Arizona for a while, but it's good to reconnect. Blake, I think we talked to Rob a long time ago when we were communicating with you guys about sponsoring our summit some time ago. Are there any other questions or comments for Blake before we kind of get ready to end the meeting for today? Okay, so any other announcements, anything that's going on? Again, I want to remind you, if you have things that you want to share, please be sure to put them in the chat. And again, the more information or detail you provide makes it a lot easier for me when I try to include it in the meeting summary. And while I'm mentioning that, so a lot of times I know you folks don't read the stuff I send out, either announcements of the meeting and or the follow-up, but a lot of the information that's shared at this meeting, you will find contact information, phone numbers, and so forth, as well as the attendees. So I just encourage you to keep up with the follow-up information. So with that, if there's nothing else, we're going to end the meeting and then move on with our kibitzing if anybody wants to stay online and chat for a while. If not, we'll see you all next week. Bye now.